Okay, Ami, there's a lot of movies coming out this month and we can't watch all of them. And since it's your birthday, you get to choose out of these three. Gladiator 2, an unnecessary sequel that will definitely ruin the original. Wicked might just be the best movie of the year, the Dune of musicals. I would make that one. And Moana 2, another unnecessary sequel that was originally supposed to be a TV show on Disney+. Your pick.
This is pretty hard. I need time to think. Got it! Moana 2.
After a month, Gladiator, Wicked, or Moana?
Moana.
Gladiator, Wicked, or Moana?
Or Hit Big! Well, if we don't want to watch Moana, I'm always down for some Hit Pig.
Moana it is! Great pick! What the hell are you doing?
Bro, that movie was so amazing. I just got overwhelmed by the power of Polynesian culture.
Shut up. Super cock-a-doodly-doo is a much better catchphrase than Chi-Hoo. In fact, even more culturally relevant than Chi-Hoo.
Shut up! Shut the fuck up! It's so ass! This movie sucks so much ass! It's embarrassing I even like it! Moana 2 is one of the most generic movies I've ever seen. How could Disney get this low of quality? It doesn't even feel like a big budget movie at all. Rather, it's the most expensive direct-to-DVD sequel ever made. If you've seen any of those old Disney DVD sequels, it was likely that you noticed that the quality of them were almost always worse than the originals. And not just by animation alone, but the writing, the characters being lame, the music being super generic. Like, all those traits are here in Moana 2, and it pisses me off so much. Hell, sometimes the dialogue made me physically cringe thanks to how constantly they'll make references to the original movie.
Because together, what we can do, how far we all can go,
and show us all just how far we'll go.
Wait, I don't even know how far it is.
Farther than I was able to go.
Hell, not only does it feel like a direct-to-DVD sequel, we could go lower than that. Moana 2 felt like those shows that you see at Disney World if it were an animated movie. That whole vibe it gave, the dialogue, the songs, things that are entertaining enough for a Disney World show, but not for an actual movie. The fact that you like this movie so much, Omni, is embarrassing to me. Moana 2 is genuine slop. Did you even notice how many times they had to give exposition to the audience throughout the whole movie?
It's proof. There are other people out there.
What is it?
An ancient island, where the channels of the ocean once came together, connecting the people of the entire sea, until it was lost in a terrible storm of a power-hungry god, Namo, who believed he'd be stronger by separating the people of the ocean. Your whole island is in the same sea as Motuvetu. And when Nalo divided the ocean to weaken the people of the sea, your ancestors were disconnected from their home.
Moana 2 thinks you're retarded! You know what truly made me hate this movie though? The side characters. They were insufferable to me because those side characters were so generic, unfunny, and annoying! Especially the Maui fanboy and the ship-obsessed girl.
That is fanfic.
Shut up! That's not funny! Notice how I can't even say their name? Does anyone remember their name? They're so forgettable, I bet money that even the writers for Moana 2 can't remember their names without looking back at their script. These characters are just the same kind of character you see in a Bad Kids movie where they only have one trait as their whole personality. This part of the movie automatically makes it worse than the original because you had to spend more time with these guys on the adventure compared to Maui in the original movie. That alone makes Moana 2 torturous to watch. Actually, scratch that. Almost everything about this movie makes it horrendous to me. The music is so damn uninspired. The dialogue is so bland to the point it makes me not care about anything happening in the story. Moana barely felt like her true self at all, cause she was so reactive like a fucking Looney Tunes character. And the last thing I have to criticize is that the animation frustrated me at times. Sure, the animation does look good for most of the movie, but some of the small details, like the water for example, somehow looks worse than the original movie that came out 8 years ago. How does Disney make a movie that looks worse than something that almost came out 10 years ago? Like, how is that even possible? And here's one thing that I'll say that you'll probably hate me for, but I'm not afraid to say it. AI ruined Disney movies for me, cause clearly a lot of AI steals from Disney's iconic art style, and now you see it all the time on the internet, but seeing it constantly makes actual Disney movies less impressive to me. Like, yes, they still look better than the AI art obviously, but it's not unique anymore. And some of the background characters in this movie are so badly designed to the point it almost looks like they were AI generated themselves. Like, look at these guys. Were they actually generated by a computer? They look so bad. Disney desperately needs to change their art style, because not only is it generic looking and AI stole all of their uniqueness, but I don't see the same problem happen to other animated movies like Spider-Verse or Transformers 1 for example. If Disney could change their art style similar to how Puss in Boots changed from the original to Last Wish, that would do wonders for the company. But don't copy Spider-Verse or do Wish again, please, I beg you. Overall, I hated Moana 2. It was super generic and it pissed me off so much. 4 out of 10, it belongs in the trash, and even if it were on TV, I would still think it's ass.
How dare you? The Moana duology is one of the
Are you serious? Are you serious? How can you call everything fucking
peak! It's peak! It was peak then, it's peak now!
I'll say it straight. This movie respects the Moanan fanbase. It rewards a loyalty to the story, to the journey. Moana, who was already peaked by the end of the first movie, this resilient heroine finds her fulfilled arc as a true leader and a mature woman here. Moana is the GOAT and an amazing lead character. She has such a deep sense of duty and this utmost commitment to her people. She has this honorable drive to put Motunui first, even over her own fears and anxieties, abandoning her little sister, her family, and venturing out almost certainly to die, as she saw last time, because they need her. She is noble, honorable, an Arthurian hero, and her sense of noble duty makes her comparable to Washington in Valley Forge, or Captain America landing in the ice.
Cup, hold, cup. You know what I'm saying? Like, cup, hold.
Moana's death reduced me to tears, and it felt so truly earned. Moana has always been a character who has had to mature from idealizing heroic adventures to seeing them as a weight, a burden, and a responsibility. She continues to choose honor and community over the risk of her own life, and so dying for the cause, knowing halfway down her dive that she would drown before ever getting to swim all the way back up, even if she still had the breath when she touched the island. It felt earned, and like the ultimate fulfillment of what Moana had learned, to guide her people to the precipice of greatness by her sacrifice. A true leader. Her death, with the ancestors and her grandmother and the swell of music, was full of thick emotion that hit deep for the Moaniacs. And her restoration as a demigod not only was an epic endgame portal scene level of earned payoff for her character, but totally part of the lore, as Maui was turned into a demigod after being thrown into the sea as a baby. What happens when you toss a baby into the sea? I'll tell you from experience, they drown. Horribly. Maui died, and the gods brought him back. Speaking of Maui, his part in her death brought so much emotion because their relationship was so earned. All through the first one, they built a convincing chemistry, falling out, building each other up, and showing loyalty. In this movie, it feels like a reunion, and they pick up 3 years later with a sense of old time's sake and a fraternal chemistry that makes this adventure have stakes. The final fight was dramatic with huge stakes and tension. I loved what they did with bringing back the Kakamora and all the lore implications we got, from the nature of demigods and the socio-political realm of the gods, to the implied romantic history and tension between Maui and the Bat Lady, the female villain, which I'd love to see pay off. I thought the thematic story, like Moana 1, was super strong and poignant. The theme of a power-hungry outsider with seemingly unbeatable weapons of destruction deliberately breaking down the cultural strength of Oceania for his own ends is a one-to-one parallel with the real colonial history of Oceania, the culture being intentionally destroyed for colonial agendas. This journey of a Polynesian leader risking everything and sacrificing to restore the cultural unity of her people from this oppressor so that she can grow and take back what was lost is poignant. And about that, I adored the designs. It was the most interesting route to take, incorporating fully distinct other islands by including Melanesians and influences from the Aboriginal cultures of Australia or the Islanders of Fiji. The movie also seemed consistent, riding off of part 1 in a perfect dance with scenes that reference and parallel back to the original and tie them close together with a soul rope. I'd give this movie an 8 out of 10. Almost as much as Moana 1, but there's an overall dip in the atmosphere and experience of the movie. They just about level out, however, with Moana 2 in my opinion being much funnier than Moana 1, but having disastrously worse music than the first one. Moana 2 was peak. A perfect husband to Moana 1, and it inspires so much excitement for the future entries of the MCU, the Moana Cinematic Universe. I'll be the first sat down, bathed in the shining light of the silver screen, as I am welcome to see how far it goes.
A soul rope? What? More like nostalgia baiting fan service for a movie that came out 8 years ago. Like, think about it. The target audience was a sperm cell when the first one came out. So you tell me, who's getting nostalgic over this?
I am.
You seriously saw nothing wrong with the generic, straight-to-video...
Hey, I didn't like the song.
Ah, yeah, the songs! Right you are! I, Hitpig, have many problems with Moana 2. But perhaps the biggest issue, as well as biggest downgrade from the first movie, which also sucked, is the music. Moana 1 has an unforgettable soundtrack, full of catchy, fun, and powerful numbers. Almost as many good songs as the Hitpig soundtrack. Moana 2, on the other hand, is like a children's paint-by-numbers version of the first movie soundtrack. Almost literally, because the music is written by 2 TikTokers who made the unofficial Bridgerton musical.
I'm a composer and I write music for TV and film.
The lack of experience was clearly on display because these songs were all boring and uninspired. Even the best song, Beyond, was essentially just a retread of How Far I'll Go from the first movie. And the only reason I remember it is because of Ali'i Carvalho's singing, which was amazing. The prime example of the shitty songwriting in this movie is Maui's song. You're Welcome in the first movie is iconic and the most memorable part of that movie. But my God, can I get a Chi-Hu? In visuals, lyrics, and performance is the biggest fall from grace I've ever seen. Chi-Hu reuses the same backgrounds and aesthetic from You're Welcome, and instead of the song being a clever ruse by Maui to trick Moana, it's a generic inspirational rap. The rock in this song sounds so much worse than he did in You're Welcome. You're Welcome was an easygoing, jovial banger with a solid performance by Dwayne. Can I Get a Chi-Hu? Feels like a ploy by The Rock to come off as cool and likable to preserve his glorious image as this perfect human being. Because of this, his performance falters and isn't nearly as good as RuPaul's performance as the sassy and gassy polecat in Hitpig.
Peter Parker gets radiation poisoning and shoots webs out of his wrist. Me, apparently I shoot nukes out of my...
The whole song, and the soundtrack in general, comes off as an attempt to recreate the magic of Lin-Manuel Miranda's music. Especially the rap portions, which contributes the worst musical moment of the entire movie, which is the Builder Girls rap from What Could Be Better Than This, which is the most groan-inducing moment from any film this year. Overall, my opinion of the score reflects my opinion of the whole movie. Dull and uninspired. Or I guess I should say over-inspired, because it desperately tries to recapture the magic of the first movie. I would give this movie a 5 out of 10, which is much lower than my rating of the generational classic Hitpig, which is easily a 10 out of 10.
Okay, I heard you the next time. I watched Hitpig, you know that?
Really? You did?
You know what I thought? It was ass! It is quite literally the most generic animated movie to come out this year. Even more so than Moana 2. Pickles is the worst character to ever exist in the history of movies. RuPaul's Polecat was vile. Oh my god, the most generic song selection in the history of animated movies. Literally the only thing that I can say that worked for me was how funny your movie's existence is in general.
So you're saying it was funny?
Sorry, Hit Pig, is it? I'm sorry, you seem familiar?
Well, of course. You sent me, Mr. A.
Anorak?
Sent me from the prep verse, yeah?
What are you?
Well, not Hit Pig. That's for sure.
The time is nigh. Evil germ marches down the hills of destiny and unto your door. He aggregates power in his very bosom. He is coming. Not for the professor. Not for the omniscient. Not for me. For us all. For this universe. To tear it down. Because he cannot bear it as it stands. He will win. And you will die!
What? Is that what you were talking about earlier?
Yes, the evil you. He's real and he's coming.